this discussion. Morning, morning. Good to see you, Maury. Okay, we are on Lamed Zayin of a base, 37B. And the last thing that we discussed is what's the status of, we had a whole discussion about food that's fully cooked versus food that's not fully cooked, that's only half cooked or a third cooked. Michael Ben Drusoy, that whole discussion whether you can leave it on a fire before Shabbat. Are we afraid you're going to go ahead and stoke the coals? That was a whole discussion that we had in the Gemara. We had Hananiah's opinion. He was lenient. He said as long as it reached Michael ben Dersoy, 50% or a third, you can leave it on before Shabbat. And there have the Chacham that say no, it has to be fully cooked. Then the Gemara comes now to address even the Chachamim that said that if it's fully cooked, right, the Chachamim would hold if it's only Michael ben Dersoy, if it's only half cooked, where there's a concern. But if it's fully cooked and as it's cooking, it's diminishing, it's getting worse, so to speak. The food is not getting any better. Making it hotter would only make it worse. Then the Chachamim would agree you should be able to leave food before Shabbat on the fire because there's nothing to be concerned about. However, the question is, the Gemara wants to know, what would the Chachamim hold about a food that's fully cooked, but it's improving? The longer it's on the fire, let's say a cholent or something like that, the longer it's on the fire, it's improving. Would the Chachamim say that you would have a problem? They would also have a problem with that as well. Would we say that you might come?
I have a question. Okay.
Yes.
So when you're warming food, sometimes it cooks more, right? I think it dehydrates somewhat. Sometimes the Syrians, they call it a hot dog. It's like the crispy part, where things get like a little burnt, but it's just sometimes desired. It's like that some people like it, some people don't like it. So
Right.
is it about intent? What is better for you? So if you say for you, the Ashkenaz might say, "Oh, you're ruining it. It's getting burnt." The Sephardics or some people in my house say, "Oh, wait, you improved it the next day by warming it for 2 hours instead of warming it for 30 minutes." So, like, where does it where would he holding? Are we holding better for you, your intention, or better by the roads, what would the majority people say?
Right. So I would think if it's considered better for you, the concern would be there. Meaning, we can't just say, let's say if someone's Sephardi and the Ashkenazi, if it's not better for the Ashkenazi, but it's better for the Sephardi, or even other you say that therefore it's not better for him, it'll be fine for me. The logic would not say that because I might stoke those coals. So what would be the question would be if for me it's
No, I'm
not
not
better.
saying stoking coals. I'm not saying stoking coals. I'm saying we're concerned. You're saying with something, you're talking about something when it starts to get to the point where it's not getting better, right?
Right. It's not getting better. So if it's not getting better, but
then we think you wouldn't stoke the coals.
Right, exactly. Right, that's the idea.
Right.
If it's fully cooked, it's not getting better. But you asked the question. Let's say for most people, good morning, Adam. Most people, it's not getting better. But for you liked it really, they call it burnt or whatever,
Right.
crusty,
Yeah.
crispy.
Right.
So the logic would say it should be a problem. It should be a
Right.
problem
Should be a problem.
because I might come to stoke those coals. The question, I think, that's what I would have to, we have to look at the Shulchan Aruch. We'll take that out in the next day or two when we finalize this subject. Good morning, Ronnie.
I gotta be there then.
Good morning. But the question mark would be, if for everybody else You know, it's not, it's considered good for everybody else. Morning, Simon, but for me, I don't like it. I like it more rare, right?
Right.
Would you say in your question, would we say, do we go after the individual in that case? Or do we go after the regular, the norm? Because, you know, sometimes you're playing with fire, if I could use the pun. You're playing with fire because if you know, if it's the normal way this food is cooked, let's say the normal way that cholent is cooked, it is better as it improves. And now, but you don't like cholent that way. So
Right.
now, for you to say that, okay, because I don't like it that way, I could do it, but the common way the common use would be a problem. It would be hard to. I see it a little bit harder to be lenient, you know, to that for that guy to say, you know, I'm different than everybody else, but you know, but again, but I think that's definitely something that requires further morning.
So if it's not better for me, then I could say go ahead and do it. I like it not crispy, so you could leave it on. But
Right,
then, but
right,
but most people would like it crispy. So
right,
then, well, which one is
right, right,
is it the majority of the people, or is it the individual's intention and what they like? Of course,
right.
if you're cooking for one person, I'm making it myself for me, and I'm the only one at the party. I would say if you leave it on to get crispy and you like it crispy, that would be a problem.
Right, exactly. Right. That's what I would say. But I would say that. But the question would be in the other way, like we said, when you don't like it crispy, and everybody else likes it crispy, you know, the language is mistamik vera lo. The language is to him. But the question is how far would we go for the individual? If we take out the Shulchan Aruch, maybe I'll take a look at. Morning, Simon. Good to see you. Morning, thank you. See, in Shulchan Aruch, there's a siman in the Code of Jewish Law, with siman Reish Nun Gimel. That's where
And then,
this.
and then the other thing is, if it gets crispy without your intention, could you still eat it?
So you see, remember the food. What's the question? The question is, it was fully cooked before Shabbat,
Right. Now you're
and
warming it.
and now you put it on before Shabbat, and now your question is you wanted it. I mean, you made a mistake. You should not have left it
No,
there.
no. Well, either that's a good question. Or if you're warming it, you put it on the blech to warm it. You're allowed to put it, it's fully cooked. I'm allowed to warm my food.
Yeah, remember, Mark. You remember what you just said. When you
Right.
put it on the blech, there's no concern of stoking, right? So let's understand it. Could you cover it to the blech? That blech is
Or
that
if I put it in the Shabbat oven, there's no concern of changing the dials
the
either.
dial. If it's right, if it's the same, if it's the same temperature.
So then, if there's no concern of stoking or changing the dials, and it gets crispy, we have no problem.
What should be the problem? What if it gets crispy? Right.
Because you're improving it.
It does that improvement. You know,
Is that
it
a
was already.
problem?
As long as it was ready. I would say as long as it was ready, fully cooked beforehand. You know, again, you know, if it's something that's fully cooked, you know, you're asking fully cooked. You know, the only time we found the problem of if it's improving is only when something is when it's on an open flame. You might come to, but the question would be that for sure before Shabbat, the problem would only be on an open flame. The question is, your question is on a covered flame on a blech, but the food is already fully cooked. The fact that you like it crispier, would that be the only question there, Mark, would be, is that an issue of cooking, right? Because
Right.
it's not an issue of, but the logic would be, again, we'll have to look at it more. The logic would be off the cuff, it's already cooked. The fact that something is crispier, I don't think that we call that you mean more, it was already fully cooked. The fact that
Right.
you like something a little crispy, so I don't know I don't think offhand that should be called, I did an
Cooking.
act of cooking. That's what I would think. So here in the Shulchan Aruch it says, he says the allowance to leave, the opinion that's more strict would say the allowance to leave food before Shabbat is only if it was fully cooked, and also it's something that it's getting, it's diminishing, and it's not improving. It's on the way down. It's going down the longer it's cooking. But he doesn't mention the point of the subject to the person. The Chafetz Chaim, at least over here, doesn't discuss, do we go after the individual? Do we go after the,
Wrong.
the general public? But that can definitely it's discussed. Someone's going to discuss it. So maybe as we go, we're going to have to see more in the practical law how to address that question. Beginning back to our discussion in the Gemara.
Back coming out. Let me see. Let me